would like to make some opening remarks on behalf of the benefactors who provided this gathering?
So I think it's totally in character of Commodities Corporation that it took so long to get this place to quiet down. And that's just a further, I can't tell you how gratifying this is for me to see such a wonderful group of people in such a sizable group of CC's history and everything that CC was. And again, I think that's a reflection of the culture that we really all built here over time and maintained for a remarkably long period of time, including through the ultimately the Gulf Goldman transaction and so on. Is it a better way? Yeah. Now that you can hear me? You didn't miss anything though. So. But anyway, welcome, and I think I want to thank for the first time and today, but we'll be thanking going more, Ken and Debbie and the sizable crew for organizing this so effectively. I think relative to when it started, the numbers just turned out to be bigger and bigger and larger than anybody thought they would. Really huge debt of gratitude to them. And they put together a fun agenda. Most of the fun, I think, is just seeing all our old friends. And have fun. Those are my comments.
What commodity was available on site for employees to purchase at a time when it was in short supply among the general public? And the answer is gasoline. Ron, you got it. Okay, I'm going to do this quick. Match each trader to the asset most closely associated with them. This was a trick question because the traders were listed in the order of the assets. So if you just put them down in the order they were listed, you got it right. In what year did CC launch Directors Fund LP? And the answer is 1986. Although I have a theory that some people actually looked it up to find out as opposed to just knowing the answer. What was the name of the cat that lived at 701 Mount Lucas Road? CC. What else? What former New York Yankee great took issue with CC in the pages of the New York Post, and why? Goose Gossage. And for those of you that were at CC in 1994 and eventually maybe got a t-shirt that said I survived fiscal 95, you know that it was because of the feedlot and the bankruptcy of the feedlot, Sand Hill, and he was involved in a lawsuit he blamed CC for. So, the winner with 7 correct answers is, surprise, surprise, Joe Esposito. Congratulations. Okay, we got a couple more things to announce. Hang on a minute, just have a couple more things to announce. We have a couple of other prizes to give away. So, while I appreciate that Helmut completed the questionnaire, we're not going to give him the award for longest tenure. We're going to actually give out 2 awards for longest tenure. We're going to give out one to the person who had the longest tenure at CC and related organizations. And that goes to Steve Deemer for 32 years. Congratulations, Steve. And we're going to give another award out to the person who worked at CC and successor organizations for the longest time. And that award goes to Jeff Deary for 26 years. Congratulations, Jeff. And finally, those of you who've seen this person around, you know that they were naturally going to win the longest traveled award. And that award goes to Goro Owada for traveling 6,800 miles to be here with us today. So thank you for making the trip, and congratulations.
Steve, before we leave, you have to give me your looking on Facebook. If you're on Facebook.
I have some more business to attend to, so hang on a minute.
Okay, good. Good. And we can get together later.
Hi, I'd like to say a few words about Frank Vanderson. Frank Vanderson was a co-founder of Commodities Corp, having come from Nabisco with Helmut to start the company in 1969. He played a significant role in laying the foundations for the eventual success of the company in a number of ways. Frank was an innovator who had the foresight to develop a trend-following technical trading system, TCS, to augment the fundamental trading that was being done throughout the company. TCS became a major profit center for CC and was the forerunner of other technically based trading systems. Frank was an independent thinker. For much of the 1970s, the company was managed by the Management Policy Committee, MPC, which consisted of Helmut, the generator of new ideas, myself, the implementer/discourager of Helmut's ideas, and Frank, the voice of reason, who found ways of compromising and getting things done. Frank had an entrepreneurial spirit. As manager of our GOL, grains, oilseeds, and livestock trading, he decided he wanted to set up a Paris office from which to trade, and which eventually led to the establishment of our Belgian office, which provided in-depth research for the GOL division. This entrepreneurial spirit eventually led him to leave CC around 1990 to set up Mount Lucas Management, a successful independent money management company applying quantitative models to futures markets. Having received his PhD in economics from Princeton University, he served for many years as a member of the Princeton University Economic Department's Advisory Council. He passed away at the untimely age of 69.
I just want to add a little color to some of that. This business of innovation. The innovation, I had hired Frank. I was running a commodity economics department at Nabisco within their purchasing department, and we were had this sort of mathematically varying hedging program and so on. And my background was in cocoa. Nabisco's biggest commodities were wheat, among others. I had an MIT classmate who was actually chairing the Princeton economics department at the time. I asked him if he had somebody who'd like to write their dissertation on wheat. That turned out to be Frank Vanderson. And he joined Nabisco and was grinding away on, these are earliest days of large-scale simulation models, so it was lots and lots and lots of computer time and so on. But I go into his cubicle one day, and it's piled floor to ceiling with these printouts, which is more than even wheat would justify. And he had run across an article on what amounted to being the math that underlined the technical trading system. Mind you, here we are working for Nabisco and hedging wheat and cocoa, and Frank is coming and figuring out how to speculate in copper and so on. So just a little bit more color with regard to his innovation and total open-mindedness that anything was interesting is worth pursuing. A lot of why we're here together, I guess maybe one could say, and repeating this a little bit, is the corporate culture that we all ended up developing at Commodities Corporation. Frank was totally key to that. One bit of color about that is we started the company both with others coming from bureaucratic corporate Nabisco, 425 Park Avenue in New York. So I showed up in the office with a pinstripe suit or whatever and a jacket and tie, etc. And Frank, I'm not sure it was day one, but if it wasn't day one, it was day three, figured out that one should show up at the office with khakis and a polo shirt and a dog. And the dog, in many respects, is key because, that is exactly, as kind of all of us came to know, that's exactly what an office at the corner of Mount Lucas and Poor Farm Road ought to at least be open for. If somebody wants to come into the office with a polo shirt and a dog, great. If they want to come in the office with a jacket and tie, great. Equally great. But whatever works. And have that be part of the culture and not sort of rules of the game or whatever. So anyway, so Frank was kind of a major contribution of his to the culture. I also think a key piece to the sort of setting for the culture was that we had this office on the corner of Mount Lucas Road and Poor Farm as opposed to Palmer Square or wherever. And I have a feeling that is Barbara Benderson still here? There you are. Did you see it in the ad? I thought it was either you or Frank saw the ad for the sale of that building for almost nothing or whatever. It was totally not in our game plan to have an office in such a location, but we ended up finding it, and I think it made a big difference to be on that sort of rural setting, if you will, as opposed to that kind of more natural center of Princeton financial setting. Also cheaper, that was much. And then just while I'm up here with a mic, in terms of remembering key people who are no longer with us. Somebody who's been no longer with us for a long, long time, and only a few of us here in the room knew, but who was my main mentor, but it turned out to be mentor for a number of early Commodities Corporation traders, and really was in a way a father of the what would be ultimately be called the global macro style of trading, and that was Amos Hofstadter Sr., who was as I said, he was my mentor. Amos was born like in 1900, I think. Was father of a high school classmate of mine, and actually nursery school classmate of my wife. And he introduced us, his son introduced us. When I sort of stumbled into commodity trading as a graduate student at MIT, I knew there was this guy who was a very, very successful long-term stock market and commodity trader, and sort of solicited him as a mentor. And then he ended up agreeing to be a co-founder, and had a really fundamental impact on the culture and certainly the trading style of Commodities Corporation. So, Ken, you want to?
Sure, thanks. Obviously, with the number of people that are here, we all recognize that our time at Commodities Corporation was a really important experience in our lives, and it was also a shared experience, and that's why we're so happy to see each other. As we were talking with the group that organized the event, we recognized that there are a lot of people with whom we share this experience that can't be here, and we made an attempt to recognize them by putting their names up. But even as I look at these names, I realize today that there are people that are forgotten, at least left off this list. But they're all in our hearts, and we're just trying to recognize the fact that we wouldn't have had the experience that we enjoyed. We wouldn't all be here enjoying it if not for their presence as well. So this is really just to take a moment to recognize those people who can't be here that we enjoyed spending time with over these years.
So, all good things don't actually need to come immediately to an end at all. We just thought that it would be nice to have a toast with a dry toast. But anyway, toast. Hopefully not everybody's dry toast. We are able to continue these renewed relationships in many cases and ongoing relationships in others, and value the fun we've had today and chance to interact. That we value and renew these relationships and can sustain these relationships to such an extent that we before too long have some future iterations of this kind of event. And we don't let it go for another, wasn't quite 50 years, really. But anyway, a toast to the future of the cohesiveness of this group.
I should have learned long ago not to go after him on the podium. I never did quite learn that. And when he handed me the baton and said, "Now you're president," and he said, "You know what? I'm going to enjoy being the younger chairman." Well, he's 4 months younger than me. But that was a reminder that I better not screw up. But I'd like to say a few things about legacy. Now, as we get older, we think more about legacy. And one thing that came through from that earlier discussion here about Directors Fund started in 1986. That's more than 40 years ago. It still exists in the form of the Princeton Fund, run by Goldman Sachs. Now, 40 years, that isn't legacy. I don't know what it is, but it all started with the concept of Helen and the other co-founders said that we would put this organization together. We're going to do something that hasn't been done before, and that it will bring a number of good, very successful traders together in a forum with fairly rigorous risk controls, and see if we can't make money for it from our investors. And they did that. And it was the first of its kind, I think. And along came the technology aspect that added to it. Again, that was the first of its kind. And then another first of its kind was raising money from public and private investors from outside the firm and starting funds. The very early funds were heavily populated by Commodities Corporation. And that grew, was successful. And then another way was going public in a big way. The multi-advisor funds, where we did the largest ones ever, through Merrill Lynch in New York. And then we did the guaranteed version of those funds, also a tremendous success. And then we took the bright idea that we could combine trading with other ideas such as insurance. We established a model that actually worked. It didn't work so well for us, but it has worked, and many others have emulated that. So we call that a chapter that maybe we weren't so good with insurance as we thought we should be, but it was certainly an innovation. And so today we look at this, and we look at 40 years of a successful fund and a future which looks bright in the industry. Along the way, we were very successful. Helen had a lot to do with this in dealing with the regulators and getting level playing fields so that we could employ our tactics and our trading. And spent a lot of time there. And Helen, of course, was very instrumental in doing all that. So a few words about Helen. If we did his resume, it would be huge. I wouldn't even want to try the multiple pages of achievements and honors. But I'd like to just comment on a few aspects from CC. And one of these was the culture that's been talked about so much already here today. And when I first came with CC in the 70s, I walked in and came through a parking lot that had trailers in it. I wondered what that was about. And I came to the door and there was a cat which I sort of almost tripped over. And I was reminded there was also a horse around. I never did get to meet the horse. It didn't really existed. But then I walked into the office. I was with my usual garb, which is shirt and tie. And someone who was working for Helen at the time reminded me that most people don't wear ties here. And so I took the tie off and haven't had it on since. I was hoping once in a while to wear a tie. It was a bow tie, because that was the easiest one I think to do, but it wasn't that we couldn't do it, but it was a culture of independence, and I think that's what has thrived in the CC history. Helen's alluded to it, talking about Frank alluded to it. These were independent thinkers and doers coming together in an environment not entirely risk-free, not entirely stress-free, but the environment was very casual and adapted to everyone's lifestyle. And you could relax while you're also on the job. So that failed throughout the whole history. And those who are in this room all have been part of that. There have been some who left again, but even those who left never really did leave. Always were affiliated. The relationships always were strong. And it was because of the individual chemistry, which goes back to the culture. I think that's so key. So about Helmut, I've got to say a few things about Helmut because no one else would dare to right now, but there are certain things that come out of working with Helmut, and one of these I would label complexity. And Helmut could make anything complex. I remember one of the first meetings, I put up on the board 3 differential equations to solve for how much compensation I would get. So I hadn't seen differential equations in sophomore year at Princeton. But I learned that there's an answer. And the idea of being able to dig in was bad. Is still better. Doing that. Another part of the working scene at CC was very much reflective of Helmut as well. And that what I'll call the just-in-time scenario. And we used to have meetings, occasionally management policy meetings, other meetings. And Helmut was never on time. Meetings. We didn't know what to do about that. Our families were going nuts because meetings that were supposed to be an hour, 2 hours. We started a half hour late, so it was just in time scenario. So what we had was an ingenious solution to that. Was actually Helmut's idea. I think that we would have a fine system that if anyone who was chairing the meeting was late, they'd be fined, I think it was $5 a minute for being late, first 5 minutes, and then like $500 going up. And then if the meeting ran over, the same chairman, was Helmut, if you ran over the meeting with someone, you all went into a kitty, which we would have as a very nice party. I can tell you, we had one very nice party. But at the end of the day, the other thing about Helmut that again doesn't necessarily come through always is he was very, very tough on what I'll call the integrity issue. That running the business and dealing in the field we were in required absolute honesty with each other and with anyone else. And he was always stood up. And anyone who reflects on Helmut from outside and run into them frequently say he was always known as straight up. The most honest person you could think. So all the other honors and there are many of them that Helmut has achieved. The fact you're all here today is a real statement, I think, about what he's done for this organization. So I would like to propose a toast, and this one is to Helmut. Well, I didn't say too much wrong, did I? There's another much younger person who the president had her name. It's Rock Hillenbrand, who has some reflections, probably a little different slant maybe, and with respect that all of you had more relationship with Rock, I know, than I had. So Rock wants to make a few comments.
you're not politically correct when you said relationships. So I'll be really, short. And this really is to you, Helmut. You've talked so much about the culture as Bob did, and you put in a lot of physical sense of the building, the clothing that people wore, the dogs and cats running around the place, allowing Agnes to bake cookies for everybody. And having chocolate chips available in the early, days. But what it really taught me was how important it is to create an environment where everyone can succeed. Look around this room, and people from, traders, lawyers who work all night to get legal documents out, the people who would greet our visitors at the front desk, all were put in a situation where they can succeed. If you didn't, it was your own fault. And I thank you for that. To me, there's nothing more important than, getting the looks, of 200 people. Could have been 500, people, given the ones who wanted to come and couldn't, to be here. So I thank you for that. I think we all thank you for creating an environment. There was a moment in time that you made us take advantage of by creating this environment. So I hate the fact that you've had a dry toast. So something one more time to Helmut. Thank you. To acknowledge two more people who were a result of that environment, who took the time and effort to get all these people together and do yeoman's work, reaching out to those who they couldn't find, and then found out how to find them. And so for Ken and Debbie in particular, and I know there's a lot more of you, but they seem to have laboring oars on this. Just a little something from us to say thank you. You'll all join me in that.
Thanks, Rock, Helmut, Bob. Really appreciate it. We have the room for another about 43 minutes. We have lots and lots of food that these guys paid for, so please eat it. And also, if you haven't gotten a keepsake, and even if you have, feel free to take another one. Take a keepsake, because the ones that are remaining, I'm going to package them up and try to send them to some of the folks who wanted to be here and couldn't. But if you haven't gotten one, please take one on your way out. Thanks. Enjoyed seeing you.
Worked the night shift on the FX desk, and we had a good time. Great crew, fun time, and we used to have these big picnics where we competed against like Tudor and all these other things. Remember those? And they were good times too. So I remember those. Good stuff.
So I worked in accounting, and I used to do the accounting for the FX desk. And one of my favorite memories was one of the guys on the FX desk who traded the night shift. He was getting ready for work. Drove into work, no shoes. He had his flip-flops, because it was casual, he traded the night shift, left his shoes top of his car, drove away, and his flip-flops were in the street. So I came into work and he had no shoes, and I remember going up there, getting some counting numbers from him, and I was like, where are your shoes? Good memory.
Best time we ever had, I think, was getting together after work and getting together and playing softball and competing against either other departments or other companies. It was great. We always had a great time.
Did you guys win?
Of course, always.
My greatest memory is Agnes. She was really a great lady, and she has a cute little nickname for me. She called me Little Bit. So that's sweet. She was a sweet lady.
My fondest memory is basically everything. There was too much to choose one thing. It was a terrific company to work for, wonderful people. Agnes in the cafeteria, the cookies and the food that she made, and how much it started a company that was so unique that it's really hard to explain to people how wonderful it was. So I have many fond memories.
Thank you, Cecily.
When we started the company, about a year later, the company nearly failed. Basically because we were over trading. And through a bunch of really lucky events, we didn't fail. But we had lost whatever it was, 65% of our startup capital in a period of about a month. So we were obviously friendly, and our largest shareholder basically wanted to shut the company down. Without going with the details, another shareholder essentially had an option to have that not happen, and they exercised that option, so we kept going. And so then my favorite part was that we adopted at that point a whole new set of control policies, which in some respects are almost an industry standard at this point. Anyway, they worked. And we, from that day on, I think our compound, not to get really nerdy about it, I think our compound rate of return over the next 10 years was about 35 or 40%. The resilience of the organization is my favorite thing.